again, our community is getting closer. We're getting closer. We're becoming more familiar over there, and I just love it. Um, and so we're really going to dive into hoodoo and really look at our goals and look at what we have going on over there and see how we can support each other. So if that's something that you're interested in the community, you're interested in learning hoodoo from a spiritual science and technology perspective and breaking it down in all its components, then Spiritual Roots Hoodoo Community is probably a community for you. Hello, Dimples. Hello. Who else? I seen some more people in here. Hello, everyone. I'm doing fine, Miss Dimples. Hello, everyone that's on High K. Hello to everyone that's on the YouTube live stream and that's on the TikTok. Hi, Camille. And that's on the TikTok live stream. Hello, hello, hello. So today we're going to talk about herbalism and hoodoo. We're going to talk about that very careful because when we look at conjure and we look at root work, we work with a lot of herbs. And why is that? So we break all of this down over there. We have so many resources over there so you can understand the sacredness of hoodoo and its practices. Hello, Kay. Thank you, Kay. Thank you. Hi, Felicia Bram. And so we break it down. I'm just not going to tell you to just work with a whole bunch of herbs and you don't know the meaning. We just went through a whole big spiel with this. Um, and the herbal technology and the animism that's in hoodoo is very sacred, is very important when we get into animism because again understanding how nature works as a science, and that's why I tell a lot of earth signs to work with earth, to work with trees, to work with plants because they'll be very surprised at working with these sort of spirits. Okay, because in hoodoo, everything is alive, even the herbs, everything we touch and use, it has some sort of sacredness to it. Okay, and it's important for you to understand why are you using these herbs? What relationships do we have with herbs? What relationship did our ancestors have with herbs? All of these things are important when we come, when we start talking about hoodoo. Okay. And don't be passive about it. Yes, we say Psalms. Yes, we call on ancestors. Yes, we work with herbs, but we understood why we were working with these herbs. Okay. Herbalism and hoodoo is more than a craft, it is a culture, a memory. It preserves the resilience of African American ancestors who survived oppression by mastering the land's hidden power. Like I said, everything is alive. When you go into these places, into the forest and all that, you are surrounded by spirits. It's important for you to start looking at you're in hoodoo, your whole perspective change because you start seeing hoodoo everywhere in everything. Every cup of tea, every candle dressed with herbs, every root carried in the pocket is a part of the lineage that has endured for centuries. It's the reason why we work with Hajjan the root, why we work with herbs. By practicing herbalism with respect, we will honor the plants as living beings and continue the covenant made by those who walked before us. Like I told you, they had a relationship with the land, with herbalism. They understood that everything was alive. You can see that too in what they call Native American spirituality as well. When you look at indigenous cultures, and we're starting to go deep, we're looking uh, at some of the hoodoo elements of indigenous elements when it comes to Bantu and Congo cosmology. We start to really look at the indigenous roots. Okay. And that's where you really start to dive deep into hoodoo. Herbalism is the heart of root work. Without the plants, there is no conjure, only empty ritual. You ain't got these herbs, you ain't got some things. I mean, if you don't even know what it is, what are you doing? The true power comes from the living spirits of the herbs, the hands that gather them, and the wisdom that knows their name. Okay? So you working with cinnamon. You know, some of us we work with cinnamon. We are working with cinnamon at the beginning of this month. A lot of people like to blow cinnamon into their house. But really, what is your relationship with cinnamon? You know, how do you see cinnamon? How does it feel to you? How does it feel on the inside of you? How does that energy feel? Really taking the time to enchant your herbs and connect with your herbs when you're using them and understanding why you're using them. Okay. And we use herbalism in a variety. We do. We use herbalism, animism, either way you want to call it, because I'm breaking it all down in chewable sizes so you'll understand hoodoo and all its components. And hoodoo herbalism is about restoring balance between body, mind, and spirit. Now, one of the things that I love doing with herbs, especially when I'm doing some fasting work and I'm setting intentions, I love to sip on herbal tea when I'm fasting. Okay. The herbal baths. If I can do the herbal bath, the herbal tea, again, hoodoo is about layers as well. If you can layer it, the more aware you can be, the more conscious you can be, the better you tap into the science of hoodoo. Okay, I hope this making sense to you. So again, using the herbs, being more consistent in how you're using the herbs and being more intentional with how you're using it. A plant can be used to heal illness while also addressing spiritual cause, be it envy, curse, emotional unrest. And now, a good example of this is when you seen our ancestors, because again, all of this comes from shamanism. Before there was any organized religion or occult practices or esoteric knowledge, you had the shamans. And so when the shamans went in and they went in to heal people, they will often do a spiritual ritual as well with providing the herbs. Yes, I love herbal teas too, Dimples. I love mixing them up, and people go even further with that. But I'll probably talk about that more in our community. What was I saying? Oh, yeah, when the shamans they went in to heal people, they went in and did a spiritual ritual and called on the good spirits while doing spiritual surgery or maybe physical surgery on someone. Okay, they call on the ancestors, they called on a spirit guides and ascended masters to help them in the working and to remove whatever root of the disease to remove it away so it wouldn't come back. So they sing everything in a spiritual from a spiritual perspective because again, we're diving into this again when we dive into animism. There is no physical world without the spiritual world. The physical world cannot exist without the astro or whatever you want to call it. Can't survive without that realm. It cannot. Okay. And I know it looks like the physical world is creating everything. No. When you go into a dream state, when you go into the astral realm, that is the real world. That is creating this world. That is a the physical realm is nothing but a physical manifestation of the astral world. I hope that makes sense to you. But understanding this in animism really puts the power back in your hand when you start understanding the indigenous cosmology of your ancestors. This holistic approach echoes indigenous healing traditions where there is no separation between the physical world and spiritual world. They're always entangled. Hi, Red. They're always, and thanks for being here. They're always entangled. I talked about this when I talked about dreams, and I talked about it was a movie, I think it was called Doctor Sleep, and this boohag was going in these dreams messing with people. And I was talking about how the dream world is entangled in the physical reality. It's always entangled, it's never apart. I even heard what was that? One of the prophets or one of the apostles said, I can't. I don't know if I saw it in a dream, in a waking state, or in a vision, but I know I saw it. Okay. And it really gets that way too when you start, having that spiritual walk. You'll have so many visions and see so many things on the astral realm at a time that you don't know if you were having a deja vu moment where you were in a wake state or you were in a sleeping state, but you saw it. Okay. And it'll get like that once your dreams and stuff start to kick up, um, and you wake up that psychic energy in you, you'll start having experiences like that. It's some trans, we go into trance states a lot of times during the day. They call it daydreaming or whatever we're doing, but when the mind is in alignment and you have done your work, you will have more of these trans vision states. I hope that's making sense to you, because I know I have experienced it a lot on this journey. Okay, whether you want to call it deja vu, purpose trance, or daydreaming, they just come up with so many words for these things. So I have to make sure that I'm using wording that you understand what I'm saying. Okay. Uh, so the science behind hoodoo, because I want to take all of you know, the bells, the smoke, the whistles out of it, and approach it in a way where it's scientific and it is a method, is an application that works when you apply it, putting in the time. Okay. And I think that's where the hang up is, where people don't take the time to slow down and look at the science. Okay. Hey, YouTube family. Hello, hello. Really looking at the science, and over on in our community we slow down and we look at the science. We look at all the components of hoodoo, and we start studying each subject, like herbalism and animism, understanding it. And once we understand it, for me, that's how it works for me. Once I understand how something works, then I'll know better how to plan my magic, or how it's going to work for me. Let me not use magic. How it's going to work in my workings, and how, the relationship with it and how it's going to turn out. Okay. I know why I'm using the Psalms. I know why I'm using this particular herb. I know why I'm doing this. I know what the herb means. I know what time of day I'm going to do it. Again, all this is science and hoodoo. We don't just go out here and get stuff. No, there's methods, there's levels to this. Okay. Hoodoo herbalism is both a science and spiritual practice. Plants are prepared as teas, washes, oils, baths, powders, or smokes, with each method chosen to align with the desired outcome. Okay, we use baths, we use conjure oils, we use all sorts of powders where we can sprinkle them everywhere near our target. We also use these in mojo bags as well. Okay. Especially one of our biggest staple is High John the Conqueror, or Chewing John, or Five Finger Grass. That's one of our staples too. Okay. Our plants are spiritual allies, and understanding that our ancestors had a special relationship with the land and with these plants, with everything that you're picking up. That's the one thing I recommend as Spiritual Roots, that you grow something. You grow something. A plant, a small something, grow something. Okay? Because again, you're making friends with these spiritual allies with the plant kingdom for money drawing. That's right, Red. Okay. So again, start working with these plants. Some people, they can work with money tree plants to try to draw in money, but you can go even further with that and start working hoodoo with that plant. But I go into that more in our community. I'm not going to talk about it here, but you can work with plants. Okay. Again, growing something, going out and talking, connecting with nature. Okay. And hoodoo plants are not just chosen for medicinal properties, but for their spiritual correspondence. Every plant carries a story, a habitat, growth pattern, scent, folklore, all inform how it's used. Root workers often speak to plants, offer prayers, give thanks before harvesting, and acknowledge the sacred gift. That's just like out there foraging and you find something that you like out there. Don't just take it. Ask. Talk to the spirits over there in that area of that plant. Talk to that plant and ask that, does it need to be used? Do it wants to be used? And leave an offering. This is the indigenous way. These are the ways of our ancestors. We don't just go out picking up stuff and not talking to those spirits. Hi, Lady O. We don't do that. Okay? And this is the knowledge of your ancestors. This is the sacredness that they have with the land. And those plants and herbs, they see you. Plants have a very sophisticated network system where they're always in contact with each other, no matter what species they are. It's an underground network. They memory is beyond our understanding because they can look at you and see your ancestors in you. They can actually see your ancestors in you, okay? They know who you are. They know the stories of the land if you sit there and talk to them long enough. And I know this may seem crazy to you, but again, when your spiritual eyes are open and you really connecting with the land and all the spirits around you, you understand this. You don't just be going out here doing things. You understand that you see spirits are surrounding you all the time. You're never really alone. Okay? So it's important for you to understand. I want to break that down to you because again, without the plants, without the herbs, we would not be here. Our ancestors wouldn't have been here. So they had to have a relationship with these plant spirits. Okay? So offering them smoke, giving them an offering before you use them. That's why we're blowing tobacco on the herbs. We're providing again an offering to them, thanking them for their services. Okay? As we're building, we're layering. And after we layer that candle with our oils, the spirits in the oils and the spirits in the herbs. Now that candle has become a whole spirit. Now it's working for us. Okay, it's not just a candle no more. You can turn it into a whole spirit. Now it's working. Because now you finna light it up. You using the spirit of fire. You see how those elements just came together, those spirits just came together just in that one little element of working with the simple candle and herbs. And now you understand you don't just have that candle there, you have the herbal spirits there, you have the spirits of the oil there. You have this whole candle that you have set the intentions and made it into a spirit and set it on fire. So now you got a whole spirit that has a flame, that has a light that you are petitioning that is working for you. And hoodoo plants are not merely physical matter, they are living allies carrying both medicinal and spiritual power. hmm That's right, earth and fire element. And if you look at the wax as it melts, that becomes the water element. You have all those elements together working for you. Okay, that's hoodoo. And understanding, taking the time to slow down and understand. Because when you make these connections with again, with Mother Earth, and you're making these connections with the plants, and you understand, you're aware of this, your work becomes that much more sacredness. That's why our ancestors didn't have to use a whole bunch of herbs and pour a lot of herbs and things because they understood the sacredness of the plant. They knew that the plants had spirits, so they weren't pouring a lot. They weren't wasteful with their herbs or their oils. Hello, Sky High. They were not wasteful with their herbs or their oils. Okay. So we looked at the spiritual power of the plants and we also look at the medicinal parts. That's what we do in root workers. That's how some people start out. They start out just being a healer through herbs. And after working with herbs or essential oil, I knew a lady who worked with essential oils for so long. The lady start again, the oil start talking to her and telling her how to use them in her Reiki practice. Plants will talk to you. We see that with George watching the car. He said, I can look at a plant and tell you what it's good for. So yeah, you talking about I can talk to plants. Maybe I am. But I know one thing. I can identify one and tell you what is good for, what is helpful for in the body. George Washington Carver said this. Okay. So again, approaching, they are not just mindless. I had to go through this with my ancestors when I was picking dandelions. Um, I really dived into herbalism. This is when I started making my own conjure products, and I had a lot of dandelions in my backyard, and I wanted to use them in some conjure oil. And I had went back there and I talked to those dandelions, and I was like, "Is it okay? I want to use some of you in making some oils." And so I waited a day. I came back. I went back outside, and there were more dandelions out there that grew like overnight. It tripped me out. And I thought it was just me at first. And then my ex-husband was back on the balcony. I mean, back on the patio in the backyard looking, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen so many of these like that. Why is so many of them like this out here? I've never seen that before in our backyard." And then I explained to him what happened in the conversation I had. He said, "It looks like a yes to me because there is more. I've never seen this backyard like this before." Okay. And so I went out and I started digging up dandelions like my ancestors guided me to pull them up from the root. Don't just cut them, pull them up for the root, from the root. And so I started pulling them up for the root, and I accidentally clipped the root. Now, this may be far fetched to you guys, for you guys to believe, but I know I heard that dandelion scream. It screamed. I could feel the vibration in my hand. I could hear it. Okay. And instantly my ancestors just like, okay, you accidentally clipped the root. I instantly went to apologizing to the dandelion and put oil on the roots. Okay. Providing care for what I was picking. Okay. So they are alive. Trees, plants, they're alive. Scientists have already proven that. They already proven that. That's why we use them in conjure, because we know that they're spirits, they're spiritual allies in herbs and plants. Okay, and this is another reason why over there where we are on our platform, I break everything down for you so you can understand it. So you don't just mindless just be doing stuff. Why are you using Rue? What is Rue meaning? Do you have a relationship with Rue? Again, do you have any plants in your home that you care for? Reverence is very sacred, it's very important. The very word root work speaks to the deep and ancestral bond between our ancestors and hoodoo and the plant kingdom. Herbalism and hoodoo is a sacred science blending our African cosmology or indigenous cosmology with plant knowledge. Okay. And herbalism in our tradition trace back all the way back to indigenous cultures, whether it's West or Central Africa. We understand that plants had ashe, that it had a life force of ashe. We understand this in indigenous cultures. And that's why we have this right here. We have animism. We have herbalism in hoodoo. And I'm using a lot of that now, um, where I'm at now because I could not get a hold to a lot of the medication um, that I used in America, but now that I'm over here, I and my daughter, we're having to use herbs, a lot of herbs. So my root work is, I'm improving a lot of my root work right now because I'm having to use herbs and things to heal and treat myself. No Western medicine. Okay. So again, getting into your root work, again, understanding herbs, looking at the herbs when you're getting ready to take a spiritual bath. Look at that. Look at the meaning of that herb. What can it provide? And just like herbs can be good, we have the poisonous herbs as well. And it's good to know those the poisonous herbs as well. And why am I saying this? Because it's to my understanding, like the ancestors have revealed to me that the poisonous herbs, and you're probably not gonna hear this nowhere else. So I'm dropping a gem. I'm dropping some on you right now. If you're in here, listen to this. Hi, Laura Cooper. Hello, hello, everyone in here in the TikTok live and on the YouTube live stream. Hello, everyone. But it's to my understanding that what we call AKA poisonous plants are actually plant warriors. They're in the plant kingdom. They would be called soldiers or warriors. They are very much needed. So what you're looking at when you're seeing these poisonous plants, where it's poison ivy or any of them, most of them have that sort of, again, they're more of soldiers, they're more like warriors in the plant kingdom. They protect some plants. That's why they were created. Hello, Blue E 14. Hello, hello, all my beautiful people on family on YouTube and TikTok. Again, that's why they're not created, for no reason. They're it was a lady, and I think she lived in Africa, if I'm not mistaken, and it was this beautiful bush that was out there in the desert. She said, "But you better not touch it. You better not rub it because it can unalive you. It can unalive you." And some people there they don't notice that and they touch it. She said even the touch of it because of the things that it secretes, the substance that it secretes, it is poisonous. It will slowly poison you. Okay. And so that's why you see a lot of our ancestors was using them in spiritual warfare as well. They was using it against their oppressors. Why? Because they understood the plant kingdom and how it was used. They knew how to use it. So the more you can learn about that and reverence them as spirits, because I mean, they gave me a drilling. They was like, "Hey, you humans are just mindless. You're wasteful. You don't understand that you are really working with the plant kingdom, but plant spirits. You don't understand that. We are truly spirits. We are alive. It's important for you to understand that because you humans are so mindless and you walk by us like we don't even exist, and we're the very reason why you exist. Again, are you connecting with nature? Because the land, the trees will talk to you. Especially trees are very important in hoodoo. Trees are very important. And hoodoo trees are far more passive in scenery. There are living, breathing elders in the natural world, repositories of memory, medicine, mystery. Just as African cosmologists teach that all creation is alive and infused with spirit, hoodoo carries forward this animistic worldview, honoring trees as a sacred allies in healing, protection, and spiritual work. Trees are powerful. Some of us go to trees and we give our offerings to our ancestors. Okay, they are very connection and a link into the ancestral realm, especially like cedar trees, oak trees, cypress trees. It's a reason, pine trees. It's a reason our ancestors would go out into nature, either meet around a tree or pray near the tree. The reverence for trees and hoodoo is deeply tied in West and Central African spiritual systems where the natural world is understood as a bridge between the human and the spiritual realm. It's a bridge when you go there. Another example you will see of this, I don't know if you ever see this like in the voodoo temple, they'll have a pole. And on this pole is said that the spirits ascend and descend on to come into the temple and mount people. I forgot the name of the pole. I think it starts with the P. But this pole is said to be where spirits can descend and ascend and come down into the temple and mount people. And that is sort of the way the trees are like. And then you have another example of this is when we see the world tree in shamanism, when we go into the upper world, the middle world, and the lower world. Again, this represents the tree of life. Trees represents the world between the physical and the spiritual world. Okay. In Bantu Congo cosmology, for example, trees often stand at crossroads, literally and spiritually, marking the point where the visible and invisible worlds meet. Okay. So trees are very representation, again, very alive, very responsive when you come in contact with them. Okay. They are more like spirit houses. Each tree species carries its own spirit, personality, and magical virtues. And when you go into a cemetery too, you'll probably see a lot of cedar trees. Cedar trees hold a lot of ancient information. And again, they have a tight network. You can go to talking to a tree and it'll start telling you what really actually happened on the land. They'll start telling you what's still a lie in them history books and what you're looking at. And that's really who we need to be talking to is the trees, the herbs. And again, you're thinking of ancestors, you're thinking of people. No, some of these plants, some of this vegetation, some of these are your ancestors. These trees, these plants, I'm just telling you, these are spirits. This is conjure. This is the relationship and spiritual allies our ancestors had. And now they see our ancestors in us. Okay. So again, we look at them. Again, they have different virtues. A oak may hold medicine of strength and endurance, and a willow may embody flexibility. Now, what I've noticed about oak, you can use the acorns if you're doing any prosperity work or anything like that. Acorns are going to be good for that. You can even put them in your mojo bag as well, because it is said in the acorn. The magic in the acorn is when you're holding the acorn, you're holding the whole oak tree in your hand. That's the power that you're holding in your hand when you hold an acorn. So again, you can use some of them in your mojo bags in your working to draw abundance as well with the oak tree. You can draw it for strength. One of my favorite tree is the weeping willow tree. I just like the weeping willow tree, but the weeping willow tree is good for any grief. If you're trying to release any heavy emotions, the willow tree is good for that. I love willow trees. I love cedars too now, but all of them have a different energy. And if you're going out in nature and you're spending time in nature, get next to a tree, start talking to it. I know it sounds crazy, but do it. Again, you are improving your intuitive abilities too when you do this. You are learning to have relationships with nature. It doesn't serve you well if you don't have a connection with nature. You're not understanding that everything around you is alive. You're always surrounded by spirit. Certain trees are believed to inhabit ancestral spirits or natural beings, making them places of prayer and offerings and spiritual negotiations. Okay, so you have our ancestors going to the woods sometimes, praying near trees or having services near trees, even being buried, by trees as a marker, a grave marker for them. The cedar is usually used for cleansing, protection, and grounding spiritual energy. So I like again the cedar tree as well. One of my other favorites is the magnolia. I love the smell of magnolia trees. I just love the smell of them. They're good for beauty work, love drawing, and protection. Okay. So again, getting a relationship because what we do here, we do conjure. We work with spirits of plants and some animals and some saints and some ancestors. This is where your conjure at. And learning about animism. Okay. That's gonna be the important thing because what you conjure and what you're using to conjure, know that you're working with another spirit. This is real conjure over here. You ain't just picking up those herbs and somebody told you to do it. What's the spirit in that herb? What's the spirit in that tree? Some people like doing their magic outside, doing their workings outside. I do recommend it because you'll be knocked off your socks. The results you get with doing your work outside. If you got a private area where you can do the work outside. Because again, everything's alive. You're surrounded by spirits, and you're gonna get an answer. I seen a man the other day coming down my timeline. He went outside, and now he bird. He can't get rid of this bird. This bird was on him, and I was looking at that. I said, "Ain't nobody but an ancestor, because your ancestors inhabit nature. They can inhabit birds. They can inhabit any animal they want to as a sign. They can work through anything. When I tell you the ancestors can reach you anytime, anywhere, through anybody, through anything, they can. It will knock your socks off when you see it. What does conjure mean? Please forgive me. I'm new here. Taylor Hampton, what does conjure mean? Conjure means to summons, to call forth, to call down, to bring down power, to summon power, to invoke power, to invoke assistance. That's conjure. Okay, so when we're praying, again, praying over our herbs, giving reverence to these spirits, we know it's gonna work. Why? Because we have a relationship with these spirits, because our ancestors had a relationship with these spirits, and we know how mighty the plant kingdom can be, because we're still living. That's the power of herbs. That's the power of trees, because we're still living. This is real conjure over here. We work with spirits over here. We understand everything is alive. We understand that this is the science. This is our cosmology. This is our science. Now, when you know how to use this, why you're using the graveyard dirt, why you're using the hospital dirt, why you using the bank dirt. Why do we have so many dirts? Then you understand why dirt is so important. Different dirts for different intentions. You know how to use it in your workings, especially if you are a earth sign or a Scorpio as well. Because Scorpios, again, y'all go pretty deep in that ancestral work. When you look at Scorpios will be really good with doing that ancestral work, working with Mama Bridget, Baron Samedi, the Getty spirits. Again, because of the work, they dive deep into their work. Their spiritual understanding is deeper, some of them. You're welcome, Taylor Hampton. So again, understanding, these trees while you're going outside, these are older ancestors. These are spiritual relationships that our ancestors had with nature. So when I tell you your ancestors all around you, that's exactly what I mean. And it's not just You think they are human. Our ancestors can return through plants, they can return through animals, they can bring signs through animals. I've seen it myself. I had this experience when my mother had passed away. Um, it was just a trip. I kept going to my mailbox and I was finding dirt and all kinds of debris in my mailbox, pine needles and all that. I was like, "What?" First I thought somebody was trying to fix me. I was like, "What is going on over here? Somebody trying to fix me?" So I took the mailbox, saged it down, Florida watered it down, and cleaned it out. And I said, "Okay," it said my little prayer. I said, Whatever this thing is gone." And so I come back the next day, the dirt is back in the mailbox. I was like, "What the hell? This is not a fix. This is something else." Come to find out there was a bird. I saw a bird going to the mailbox. She was building a nest only in my mailbox. Nobody else mailbox. This is very odd behavior. This is around the time my mother had passed away. I was like, "Oh no," it's like, and it's supposed to be a good sign when you see birds do that, when they build a nest, especially around the front of your house. This was just in my mailbox. I was like, "This cannot happen. You cannot be in my mailbox." Eventually, I closed the mailbox and the bird went out to the backside on my balcony and made a nest there. Okay. So again, your ancestors can show, and I instantly knew, okay, that's nobody but my mom. She's just letting me know she's here. You know, I honor that. I see you. I see what you're doing here. Okay. I knew it was an ancestor. And so you'll see that in nature, you're asking for a sign, pay attention to the animals that you're seeing, pay attention to the birds that you are seeing, the animals that you are coming in contact with. Because again, the ancestors, there is no limitation when it comes to getting messages from them. I've been doing and learning on and off for 20 years and started to build again. Great, Blue Eve. You're welcome, Taylor Hampton. Is there a book or video we can get started with learning like a primer? I say learn about herbalism, learn about animism, if you can get your good book on that. Learn about everything is alive. Again, this relationship, special relationship we have with nature. You look at nature totally different. You will look at nature totally different when you understand that everything alive. You will look at herbs totally different. Okay, even though our ancestors used what they had on hand, but because they were picking these herbs, because they were growing these herbs, and they was using these herbs, they knew the power of the herbs. They had a relationship with the herbs, and they were very prayerful people. Okay, and this why it worked. I was hearing, I think a doula, a birth doula, talk about her giving birth, and the man was like, how did you do it?" She said, "It's because we put God first. We put God in everything. God everywhere." You hear them? They literally mean that. When they're telling you that, they literally mean that God is in everything, and to put God first, God is in everything. They literally mean that. So do not take that lightly. It sounds very light, but do not take it lightly. I think for me, it's something like you know hoodoo, but for me, when I got deep in my hoodoo, it was like a sledgehammer. Something just went off in my head, and all I could see with trees and things alive with spirit. It's like seeing them for the first time after I have been walking past them daily every day. Now it's not that way. I understand that everything is alive. Okay. Every part of a tree can become again, they can help you in conjure, they can help you do work. It's some people, even work on their petitions around a tree. Okay. Uh, you can work with leaves of a tree depending on, some people use the pine needles from pine trees. again, to make, conjure oils, even for prosperity. Okay. Pines are good for purification and drawing prosperity as well. So, and there's a lot of pine trees over there in the Americas. Okay. Your relationship, if you're a root worker and you're working with roots and you're working with herbs, your relationship with herbs are essential. And asking for permission and telling the herbs what type of work, what intentions are going on there is going to really help you in your work. It's not just picking stuff in there and dumping it in your candle. You're actually taking the time out to blow tobacco smoke and pray over your herbs and ask them what you want them to do. You're honoring them. Taylor Hampton says, growing a few herbs in my yard now gives you a different relationship with the Most High and natural world. Absolutely, Taylor Hampton. I couldn't have said it any better. When you can grow a plant, I remember my grandmother. She left me this. She passed away, and she left us this. My mom took the plant that in her room when she passed away. The plant came back alive, and so my mom, she grew this. What was it? What was it called? Pothos. Pothos are good for abundance. Uh, they're good for strength and prosperity, and they're easy to grow. Okay, so you want to look at, because some of these pothos are good. Some of these plants are good for money drawing and doing money work as well. And I'll talk about that more on the platform on how to do that if you get on in the group. But again, she was growing this plant, and she gave everyone a part of it, and I can remember times I would forget to water it, and all of a sudden I can hear these plants, I can hear it. And again, I do have a touch of clairaudience as well. But I can hear these plants say, "Hey, you're not gonna water me?" And I look over there and they're just like leaning over, like we're about to die over here. And while I am watering them, I'm apologizing and I'm saying, "I'm so sorry, sorry, sorry. Come back, come back, come back." And I'm watering them. And I kid you not, within a few hours, I go back and look at those plants and they were standing tall, they were green, they were alive. Okay. Again, uh, again, start watering your plant. Start watering your plant. Start growing something. Grow something. Get something easy to grow. It doesn't have to be hard. You can get something easy. Okay? And start looking at that plant, talking to that plant. Again, we are building our relationships with the plant kingdom. We are doing something that our ancestors has always done. And you're not going to see a difference in it if don't have a relationship with some of the tools that you're using. That's why a lot of our ancestors, they made their own stuff. They had their own garden. They made their own conjure oil, some of them. And then they were very picky about buying other tools from other people because they wanted to make sure, what is it organic? How are you taking care of it? There's some people out there, when they buy conjure herbs and stuff for other people, they go through a whole thing. Is it organic? How do you grow it? Because they know the importance of the reverence of the plant. We don't want you to just grow it. How are you growing it? How are you harvesting it? That matters to some people because they understand all of that matters. Some people get upset with people like that, but don't get upset with them. They just want to make sure that it is again, that it's authentic, that it's been harvested right, that you have set the right intention. Did you harvest it at the right time? Did you make that conjure oil around the right time? Again, we don't just make conjure oils. We don't make certain things anytime we want to. It all has a science to it. It's more context and more rituals involved. And some people, they know that, especially if they've been doing hoodoo or conjure for a long time, they know how their tools and vibrations and frequencies should look. And so they're very aware. And that's one reason why I tell people to grow something. Start making some of your products on your own and see if you see a difference. Start following, uh, the methods and the science of your ancestors when constructing some of your conjure tools or hoodoo tools, and some of them are better when you do it with your ancestors. I'm just gonna tell you, your magic is better when your ancestors show you how to do something versus than me or somebody else showing you. If your ancestors show you it without a shadow of a doubt, and I stand tall on them ancestors, baby, when your ancestors give you some magic to do, it never fails. And it may not even make sense to nobody else. It don't have to. And that's powerful magic when you can follow the guidance of your ancestors, when you're connecting with, again, working with these plants, um, learning more about animism and how it shows up in hoodoo, and our special relationship that we have with these plants, as in people that our ancestors had a connection with the land. Okay, those things are going to be very, very important uh, when you're connecting with trees, when you connecting with the plants. And if you go look at our ancestors, and you look that they met at trees and prayed through trees. They call on their ancestors. Some of them, they would tie bottles on trees, bury jars around trees. Again, petition trees. Again, these are powerful conduits for your intentions because they are alive and they bridge the world between spirit and the physical realm. Powerful spiritual allies if you can work with the tree. Be consistent. Keep your eyes open because some of them talking to you, but you're not listening. Get off your phone for a minute. Stop looking at your phone and look at the sky and look at the tree and look at the grass and look at the birds. Look at that for a minute, step because our face being these phones so much, we don't realize the world that's around us sometimes. And that's where the real power is. Okay. So again, you look at trees in a brand new light. Now, when I pass a tree, I be like, I wonder what kind of tree is that. I take a minute and look at it, especially if it's beautiful and I see all the branches just sticking out and going up. I give reverence to that tree. I'm like, oh my gosh, you're just so beautiful. What kind of tree are you? I'm always inquiring, and they know that. They feel that. Okay. Especially when you know ain't no wind blowing, but they shaking their leaves at you, waving. You'll get that too. Some of 'em will wave at you, and there's no wind blowing, there's nothing blowing, but you see these leaves on this tree is waving at you. Again, they see you when you're aware of them. They are aware of you. They know when you are aware of them. Okay, but you have to be open to that. Okay. So another book that we're going over now that you get over there is the Cunningham book, where they talk about herbs and different plants in there. We also give away another old book. This book looks like it was written in 1930s. It's called the Culpeper Herbal Book. Now that book breaks everything down and lets you know the medicinal properties of some of these herbs. And I like it because it gives you the side effects, what it do, and things like that. So I like the cold pepper too. Even though it's an older herbal book, it does have a lot of not good knowledge in it. Okay. So again, you know, when we're going outside, we're seeing these birds, we're seeing these, what animal you ever dragonflies, butterflies, deer. Again, our ancestors can use them to communicate with us at any time. We have to remember our ancestors. A perfect example of this is looking at the show Moana. Remember, her grandmother came back as a stingray. Remember in Moana that the water became alive and was assisting her? Again, everything is alive. See, a lot of some of these animated shows, they be telling you the truth. And that's why I like watching a lot of cartoons and a lot of anime, because in some of them they telling you the truth through cartoons. You're sitting there watching them tell you the truth, especially when it comes to nature. What was the other one they had, the airbender? Yeah, they telling you what it is. And now you got people out here bending air, making air move. Okay, they're able to use their telekinesis powers. They're already telling you what it is. Hello, Mama. Fet Miat Reed. Hello, hello. So again, everything is alive. We understood that. And one thing I love about hoodoo and talking about hoodoo, because I can talk about it in from so many different perspectives and break it down. Because I mean, that's how the ancestors showed me. Okay, that's how they taught me. It's breaking it down. When you look at our African spiritual systems, you start to see that we are very consistent in the way we build our spiritual systems across the board. No matter, they may be different, but there's consistency that happens there when you start looking at the African diaspora spiritual practices. They like stay in a certain system, and that's the way I like to talk about hoodoo. Not just hoodoo in America, but also looking at these other African diaspora systems, the way they were crafted, and looking at their traditions among the African diaspora, and then hoodoo begins to make a lot of sense. And that's how we talk about it over there on spirituals. We just don't stick to the Christian parts of it, and I kind of see that that's happening here. We're sticking to the Christian elements of that, but hoodoo is so much more when we start looking at the ancestors. Okay, so again, you know, keeping in mind that everything is alive. In hoodoo worldview, working with trees is a covenant, not an act of extraction, resilience. Extractions, trees give power, medicine, shelter, but they also teach patience, resilience, reciprocity. When you honor a tree, you honor the lineage of root workers who understood that nature is not separate from spirit, it is spirit. I'm breaking it down to you like that. Standing before you in bark, leaf, and branch. In essence, trees in hoodoo are healers, protectors, wise counselors. They anchor the work to the land, to ancestral memory, and to the ever present spirit who walk with us. To work with a tree is to enter into a sacred dialogue, one that has sustained the soul of the hoodoo for generations. Okay. Hi, Kimio. Hello, everybody on the TikTok live stream, everyone that's on the YouTube live stream. Hello, Royalty. I try to go live around maybe 3 or 4 times a week. And it's usually around this time, around 8 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'm in Thailand. So it's morning here. It's probably going to be PM where you are, Royalty. And so it's so hard for me to gauge that time with you guys because we're in different time zones. So, but I do go live 3 or 4 times a week. Okay. I love these conversations too. I love having these conversations with you and breaking it down to you guys so you can understand the components of hoodoo, because you know, we get so many vague interpretations of hoodoo, and then we're getting the side where, oh, hoodoo is all magic. No, you can call it that, but it's really a spiritual science when you know what you're doing, when you understand everything is alive and you know how to use your mouth, you know how to use your tongue to conjure, you know how to use your mind. Okay. And that's the first thing we do over there. We get your mind right. We get you deep in that shadow work, doing that ancestors work. Then we get you started on your ritual so you can start seeing some results. See, you gonna get a good foundation over there. I'm not gonna just be giving you no spells and stuff. That ain't doing you no good. That ain't helping you understand nothing. You understand me? Somebody just showing you what to do. It is chemistry. Let me write it over here. It's the same as my channel, same as my YouTube channel. If you go over there to TikTok, same thing, same name, same thing. Taylor, same thing. Okay. And so again, you do yourself no good by learning again the Psalms, all the rituals, if you don't understand why we're using it, if you don't understand the power behind it. Because once you know something, you're aware of something, again, you can be more confident in your work. But if you don't understand why you're doing something and why we're using something and the power behind it, again, there could be a lack of confidence there. All indigenous cultures have a connection with other spiritual systems healers like midwives, readers, seers, conjurers, root medicine men, women ministers, witches, workers, shamans, priests, and priestesses. Yes, that's absolutely true. There's a connection to all of us. Okay, especially when you become the healer as well. And that's one of the first things that happens when we start looking at our ancestors. And I think we're going to talk about that more when we go into our tarot card workshop that's coming up on the 17th. We're going to be looking into the courtship court cards and the tarot. And one of the things I'm just going to talk about briefly here, but we're going to go more in depth over there on the tarot workshop, because you'll see these archetypes too come up in your tarot reading too, when it comes to ancestral archetypes and understanding which archetype are you among your ancestors. And some of us are different archetypes. Okay. And it becomes important for you to understand that when you, again, when you kind of start looking at your chart, and then understanding the experience that you're having here on this realm. Now when you can look at the archetype that you have under your ancestors, you can pretty much start doing some positive shifting when you start looking at your archetypes. And what are the archetypes? You got some people that are just warriors. Okay, you got warrior spirits. They just have the warrior energy in them. Okay, they love a good fight. They love to protect. Again, just righteous warriors. You have some people that's in that mode. Okay, they are just, again, they love a good fight. They are excellent at spiritual warfare. This might look like a prayer warrior that, again, that can conjure up some protection just like that. Then you have the hero. Okay, you have the people that is trying to save people and things of that nature. You might be the hero under your ancestors in your family lineage. Maybe you come there to save the family or save your ancestral lineage. Do good deeds. Okay, you might be in the hero archetype, or you might be the sage, you might be the shaman, because it show looks like that as well. You'll have the shaman archetype. Maybe you're the healer. Okay, I think you'll probably see more of that, like in if the hierophant. I don't want to talk about that. Don't say that. Okay, so the sage or the shaman, which one are you? Okay. Then you have the traveler, the explorer, the seeker. And you can see a Sagittarius doing some of the same thing, or the Scorpio. Okay. So which one are you? Are you the seeker right now? Are you the explorer? Are you seeking knowledge right now? Okay. And then I love this one because this archetype might come up for you. The magician. What is the magician? I love seeing this because you become the alchemist. You truly understand how hoodoo works, how the ancestors work. When you see this archetype come up, that means that you are making progress. When you see the magician come up, when it relates to the ancestors, and every archetype is different. There are several archetypes, but these are just a few that I have noticed that some people fall up under when they start taking this journey and communicating with their ancestors. You'll see something, some of these will come up. Then you have the caregiver, and I've always said the caregiver is the healer. And you, on the first beginning on the journey, I think everyone becomes the healer because that's what it becomes all about: healing, 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 healing. And so you'll see some people that are they're caregivers. They're good at that. And you might see a lot of these people as well. A good example of these people, they are literal caregivers in hospitals. Truly, they are the real healers. The ones that have to come in direct contact with the patients are the real healers. Then you have the rebel. Most of these people are revolutionaries like uh, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King. I don't even want to mention him, but for a lack of another person to mention, I'm gonna mention him. Malcolm X, maybe Tupac Shakur. Again, these are revolutionaries. They're here to break the barriers. They're here to break the rules. They are nonconformist people. Uh, they are very outspoken people. Some of our ancestors fell up under those archetypes. These are the archetypes you'll see, and then you'll see the child archetype, the dreamer, the person with vision. Okay. Then you have the shapeshifter, the jester. Okay, these people, they can make adjustments real quick. They'll be whoever they have to be to get ahead or to get where they need to be. And most of them function as comedians as well. They're good with laughter. They understand the energy of laughter. They understand the frequency of laughter. Okay. So you have again there the shape shifters or the jester. Then you have the storytellers, the entrepreneurs, the visionaries, the creator. You can fall up under that archetype as well. And these are just a few archetypes you can fall up under when you're working with your ancestors. But these come important to know these journey. What's the sage journey? What's the healer's journey? And so when you start breaking it down, you'll start, oh, I have something in common with these archetypes when you start looking at them. And you'll see them sometimes come up in readings. Okay. Or when you just look at your life and start looking at these archetypes and looking at the journey, you're like, oh, I'm here. I'm on this journey. Okay. Then you have the person that's the servant, the one that works for the people, that's always advocating for the people. They're like civil servants, very just normal people. Okay. They like service work. You'll have them as well. Their joy comes from being of service. Then you have more like this Aries or this Empress energy or Emperor energy where you are the ruler, you are the diplomat, you know how to engage with the spiritual and physical realm um, seamlessly. You are the ruler in your world, you are the creator in your world. And then you have the unifier. Are you the unifier? You're able to bring people together, bring things together. Okay, so understanding these archetypes are very important when you get to understanding that your relationship with your ancestors. And again, I'm going to talk about this more in detail in our tarot workshop, probably on the back end of it, um, when we talk about the courtship cards. But we are doing, again, going deeper over there on Patreon. If you're interested in learning hoodoo from a scientific technology, spiritual technology perspective, spiritual roots. Our Hoodoo community on Patreon is excellent for that. We break everything down. I'm not just going to give you a whole bunch of work to do, uh, throw a whole bunch of herbs in you. That's not doing you any good. The first thing we do over there is get you a foundation with your ancestors. Get you a foundation with getting used to ritual and understanding the spirits that we work with. Another great topic we just had over there, and I think that it is, I don't hear a lot of hoodoo practitioners talk about it, is working with saints. I just posted a really good resources on helping you recognize good saints to work with. Okay. uh, just a very good resource. So you'll have that resource and you can look through it and say, okay, what saints that I need to work with? Because sometimes the time is not right for us to do a certain thing. Sometimes our ancestors are working on something else and they can't work with us at this time. And that's when we can take the opportunity again to form relationship with saints. Okay, and the more we start looking at these saints as well, because I do recommend it, that people read the resources over there, but I know everyday life can get into the way of that. But when you learn more about these saints, they start to look ancestral. When you dig more into their life, the way they lived, and their relationship with the community, you just like this person could have been my uncle. This person could have been my auntie because look at all they did. Like this is stuff my auntie do. This is something my mama do. So again, we really start looking at our options over there, and we really learn how to set up a table. We're going to be petitioning the spirit or having a relationship with the spirit. We start learning how to set up an altar to attract uh, different energies to work with us. And of always, of course, we ask our ancestors. That's one reason why we're are looking in divination. Divination is important in any spiritual working, especially hoodoo. We don't do anything without asking for spiritual guidance from our ancestors. I may tell you to do something over there, but after I recommend it for you, the back thing I'm gonna tell you is always ask your ancestors. Yes, I recommend this, but just because I recommend this doesn't mean that your ancestors want that for you. Confirm what I'm saying with your ancestors. Do we need to get cards for the tarot class? If so, which ones? You can get any tarot cards that you want to, but you definitely need some tarot cards over there. And let me make this announcement again because I tend to always have to make the announcement, and I hate that I have to make this announcement to y'all, but I got to do it again. And y'all probably gonna get upset at me, but I have to do it again. Hoodoo is a closed practice. I'm gonna say that again for the people in the back. Hoodoo is a closed practice. It is closed by our ancestors that look just like me, that experience chattel slavery, inhumane treatment. Hoodoo is a closed practice. Now, y'all got your own stuff, okay? No need to try to force anything. Get over here. It may look like your stuff. It may look like that, but this ain't that. Say that again. This is not that. This is totally different from what you got going on here. Cause see, we calling our ancestors. These folks up here, you get over here and start trying to do this stuff. Our folks gonna look at you crazy because some of them did not like pale faced people. Okay? So don't come over here thinking it's the same thing because you get yourself hurt. Okay? Don't do this, it's not the same. It may look the same. You might see some of the same components. Same philosophy, some of the same, may share some same philosophy. We do not have the same ancestors. They is closed. Ain't no initiation over here. Because we don't care how much money you got, it's still closed. There's no initiation over here. Okay? You can't buy your way in here. That's the difference. Okay, we don't have no initiation over here. Okay, it's just closed. Now you can probably go do that somewhere else where you can be initiated into their religion. Hoodoo is not a religion. It's a sacred spiritual practice of our ancestors. And everything we do is ancestral centered. Folks look just like me. Okay. So again, you got your own stuff. Go over there and get your own stuff. Go over there and get your own stuff. You got your own stuff. Again, y'all created this whole new age movement, and you resurface your Wicca practices. You got a whole bunch of stuff over there. Even though I know where it come from, because I talk about this. I break all this down. We gotta start going through these occult books and looking at what Aleister Crowley, where he got his materials from. Again, a lot of them they can't talk about their spiritual science without talking about my ancient ancestors, my Kemetic ancestors. I know where it's got from. Okay. So you took that and you watered that down and you adjusted that just for you. Great for you. Hey, straight, a snake. Use that for you. Okay? Your ancestors created that, designed that just for you. This over here was created and designed just for us. Okay? That's the difference. Okay? Now, if you feel like you say, oh, because y'all go on that trip too, let me stop you there. It just resonated with me, and hey, 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 hey. Don't let that feeling take you nowhere. That's a trauma response you got going on with you. You need to go talk to your folks. Is that your folks are always trying to push up somewhere that we at and roll up and get up in that. This ain't that, okay? So I don't care about what kind of feeling or what resonated with you with what I was saying. That's a trauma response. You gotta ask yourself why you want to be around folks that don't look like you. Their whole spiritual practice is centered on people that look like them. You gotta ask yourself why you want to be in there. Why you want to push up in there like that? Okay, all right. And you got your own stuff. And I see a lot of y'all too. Y'all calling some of y'all stuff hoodoo. I don't know what you mean by that. I don't know. You know, I think we got to change what we got going on. Cause see, y'all done took this name and started applying it to yourself. So we probably have to take our ancestral technology and magic and call it something else because it is getting commercialized over here. No, I don't like that. It's starting to look like a religion over here. You know, now I'm just telling you before you even get started and come over here, jumping in my box and talking about what you feeling and all that. This is not that. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your breath trying to convince me. Don't even do it. You'll just be wasting your time. Okay? Because I'm gonna point you to where you'll be more happy at and probably have better results at because this ain't it. This is not it. You get over here and get yourself messed up because some of these ancestors, I'm telling you, I can clearly remember some of my ancestors didn't like y'all. Okay, they didn't like you. Didn't like being around you or having to talk to you. That's the kind of trauma that you put on them. They don't want to talk to you. They don't want to look at you. They don't want you asking them for nothing. You understand me? So don't get over here thinking that this is that. This ain't that. Okay? It may look like that, like what you see over there, but this not that. This is a whole different ballpark over here. All right? So I want to keep that in your mind. Don't get over here and thinking that you can jump over here uh like that because you can't. All right. So I hope that was loud and clear to you. We said, girl, they ain't got no stuff they ain't stole. that's that's what Taylor Hampton said. Our YouTube family over here said, girl, they ain't got no stuff they ain't stole. Taylor Hampton said, from over 100 negative confessions, they are watering it down to the 10 commandments. I mean, and look, we go through a lot of these books over here, you guys. and you're able to see for yourself. A lot of these occult books we read, and I know some of my practitioners over there said, Miss Penny, why you putting this? I have to put it here because these the folks that stole it and they put it in their book. So we got to read their book to get what we need out of it. And so that's why you'll see me do a lot of lectures and book reviews and telling you where to look at the book and to be objective when you're reading some of this, because some of these people had biased perspective. So again, I have to come in there and tell you, okay, read this. Yeah, the author do have a biased perspective. We're not looking at that. We're looking at this part where they wrote about. So we have to be like that when we're reading some of their books. And that's Dimples. Dimples said that's true. They steal everything. So again, when you look at these books and you understand that these spiritual sciences come directly from, again, when you look at ancient Egypt and you look at Kemet, because we're going into that too. That's going to be a beautiful lecture. I can't wait for you to see those connections, because I know some people look at my upside my head when I tell them you can see hoodoo in ancient Egypt. They look upside my head like, what? I'm like, how does this not make sense to you? And you know them people in the Bible stole all the spiritual science from Egypt. Moses instead is saying he want to be like them, but yet he's using Egyptian magic to lead the so-called Hebrews out of Egypt. Make it make sense. Why wouldn't it be linked all the way back to ancient Egypt? And then we look at ancient Egypt a little bit closer, we find out ancient Egypt is not really in Africa. We start understanding that ancient Egypt is in America after looking at all the pyramids there. I don't give a damn what no books say. I'm listening to the land. The land tell you this. The land tell you that it was first. It is the headquarters of humanity. Okay? And see, they ain't told y'all that yet. You going all the way over there to somewhere to be initiated somewhere else, when voodoo and hoodoo was always in America. It didn't come from nowhere. But see, you ain't gonna learn that till later. Because all indigenous cultures had their own form of ancestral spiritual practices. Be it hoodoo, be it voodoo, be it the orishas, whatever they want to call it, we all had our spiritual practices. So voodoo and hoodoo, again, they were already comedic sciences was already spiritual science was already there in the Americas. You're just remembering, okay? And so when we break down, we start looking at uh again, we're looking at the ancient comedic teachings and the magic. We start seeing hoodoo in it. Because even when you start doing the research on the Psalms, and the Psalms, the Jewish the Jewish people, they'll say, "Oh, we got this from these baths, these psalms we're mixing with the baths. We saw this, but where did you get it from? You got it from ancient Egypt, because they were using some of these prayers when they would do spiritual baths and herbal baths. Again, you follow the science technology. I don't know none of them. Even when you look at the Abrahamic religion, all of them, they stand on the shoulders of Kemetic ancestors. I'm just telling you. I see it. Yeah, it may be different religions. Their spiritual system may be a little bit different, but I can tell you this: most of them stand on the shoulders of my Kemetic ancestors. Their religion wouldn't exist without it. Okay, so I just see things a lot different. All right, where other people are trying to and close things off and try to make hoodoo look like this. I see the ancestral connection in hoodoo when it comes to our oldest ancestors and our most recent ancestors. Okay. And then you get a lot of people that trying to commercialize hoodoo Christianity. Hoodoo is not Christian. It's not a religion. So stop it with that. It's not that. It's not that. It's its own science on its own. It used some of the Christian elements in there, but it is not Christian. So just stop it. Okay. And for the Christian people, you need to cut it out. Getting in people comments, the hoodoo root workers getting in our comments with that foolishness that you got going on there. Okay, because you folks is always conjuring and doing spells and stuff in church. So, If I'm a witch and I'm a devil, you is too. Okay. Uh, uh, yeah, Jesus is a conjure man too. He a witch too. He a hoodoo worker, root man, a conjure man. You understand me? Don't get over here with that stuff, because that man was doing conjuring. That man was calling up spirits, turning water into wine, using root work and conjure oil. That man was talking to the ancestors, the transfiguration. Let's just cut it out. Okay? Just stop it. So don't come in here with the craziness. Some of you Christian people talking about you don't call on no other spirits. Well, what you calling on Jesus for? You call on that man all the time. You don't call on no other spirit. You don't call. Yeah, you calling on a spirit. You don't work with no spirit. Yes, you do. So let's just cut it out. Okay? Don't come with the man. You need to sit down and think about. They say they got something called Christian Science. Go look at that. I never saw it. Okay, I ain't never looked at y'all Christian Science, because some of y'all stuff don't make no sense. But go over there and look at that. Okay, understand why you doing what you're doing and how it's working over there for you. We understand how it work over here, Christian folks. We know how it work over here. Okay, we understand the science behind it. And if you ask me, and I'm gonna say it again for the people in the back, I thank God that our ancestors looked at that Bible and made it a conjure book. Cause baby, it wasn't no power in it the way they was using it on us. But when our ancestors took it, they put some power in it, baby, and they moved some stuff around, baby. I thank God. Now looking at that Bible from a hoodoo perspective, I can be thankful for it because I know how to work it. I know how to look at it from that perspective. Okay. And see, we gave that power. And you better look at the our churches and look at their churches. Our churches was always lit. You understand me? We was being mounted by our ancestors. Wasn't no thing called the Holy Ghost. They wasn't doing it in the pale face churches. That that marker is specifically for the black church. We were getting the Holy Ghost shouting and all that. And I promise you, if you look at a voodoo ceremony when they get mounted, and you look at somebody that got the Holy Spirit, and you look how they are, getting how they get around the person that get the Holy Spirit or being mounted, it's the same thing. It trips you out when you see it. You say, "Oh my God, this is the same. Damn, this is the same thing. What is happening here?" I seen somebody get mounted, and I promise it looked like somebody who got the Holy Ghost, because you see these women the ushers start standing around them, start, guiding them, making sure they don't hurt themselves. You see that same thing in the voodoo ceremony, same thing. Look at a Christian service. Somebody get the Holy Ghost there. You see the ushers get around them and prevent them from hurting themselves. And it's the same. It tripped me out when I seen it. There's no difference. And that is specifically that type of worship is a marker at the black church. You didn't see no white churches doing that at first. They had to watch us, and then they start doing that. You understand me? That's so important that you understand the history, uh, your spiritual history, especially when it comes to seeing hoodoo in the church and what you seeing now. Some of these folks don't even realize that's what that is. Okay. Who was that? I don't belong. Who is this? I got somebody in the comments. Yes. Oh, yes, yes, Mama. Fat May I and Blue. I would say I don't belong to any practice group. However, my great grandmother was a practitioner, and my mother. I didn't learn from her. I've been doing things on my own, but I do feel lost. I have seen results. Again, getting back again, working with those ancestors. Being consistent with your ancestors, that'll help a lot of the information come back, especially the way we have you to set up your altar and start working with certain ancestors, and you will feel like you're in a fog at first. Somebody else had this same experience. And then when I was telling them, guiding them on the way to set up a healthy ancestor altar so they can start really doing a lot of mental shifting and start getting out of that fog and gaining more insight, when they did like I got it, and to come in contact with health insurance ancestors, again, they saw a shift. It immediately happened. Okay, when you get focused, you become aware, and you start calling again, setting up a healthy, uh, working with healthy ancestors. Yes, sis, the Bible is a spiritual tool. Yes, yes, yes. And learn to respect the work and what I do and energies around me. Yes, yes, yes. Taylor, from the Christianity taking our power to following ancestors making us powerful. I know that's right. That's what Taylor Hampton said. My grandmother was a hoodoo practitioner. I passed her. No, one to me. Okay. Again, you never really you lose this knowledge. And if you on, you working with your ancestors and you're like in a little fog right now, you don't understand. Because you get like that on your journey, you guys. We all get like that on their journey because spirit, you following something you can't see. And you can get in the middle of the world and say, where the hell y'all taking me? Because I get like that sometimes too. I get in the middle of the road, be like, okay, where the hell we going? Because the GPS system is broke. What is happening? Reprime. Let's readjust. Let's re-meet. Let's regroup. Where the hell y'all taking me? What is happening here? And that can happen on your journey. Okay. And so if you're working with your ancestors and you're saying, where the hell I'm at right now? Again, let's look at the ancestors that we're working with. A lot of people think they should start with family. I don't recommend it. Not unless you had a good relationship with this family member. They were very good to you and things like that. Then, yeah, maybe. Okay. But after doing shadow work, and I'm going to say this again because shadow work, again, we start moving out all the ancestral traumas, all the oppressive spirits that are in our lineage, the tape recorders that's in our head that tell us we can't do anything, we can't work magic, we're not magical. Again, they're there. That's why we do shadow work to move all that stuff out and get in alignment with our magic, to get in universal alignment so we can know ourselves, we can know our thoughts, we can choose our thoughts, we can change our thoughts. That's when the alchemy starts to happen, when you start doing the shadow work, because you realize the thinking, um irregulation, all those things. You understand how these things are keeping you misaligned. And so when you start doing the shadow work and looking at how this showed up in your ancestral lineage and how it's showing up for you, and you start getting alignment working on these things, a lot of the work that you think you ought to do, you're not going to have to do it, because things are going to be happening for you naturally when you start aligning with healthy ancestors and when you start moving a lot of that negativity out. Okay, so we're not just moving it, we're not just taking a spiritual bath and just removing it from our body. Again, we dive into shadow work, into our psychology, and start removing and resetting our mind. And what are we doing here? We are programming our mind for our ancestral magic or spiritual science technology. That's what we're doing. We're removing all that stuff, all that junk that don't work, that's meaningless, getting it out the way. And again, rebooting ourselves, getting ourselves online with our ancestors. That's what we're doing. And that takes work. Because a lot of y'all don't want to do no shadow work. You want to pick up and do a spell and practice hoodoo, but you don't even want to honor your ancestors. And that right there is a disgrace and disrespect. You want to learn all this, the glitter, the smoke, the whistle, but you don't want to get a good foundation. You're going to be forever trying to find somebody to teach you something because you don't want to put in your time. Okay, the black churches who do they just forgot and lost their way. You are bringing the knowledge back in this revolution to bring back the basics and learn the old ways and innovative God will. Oh, thank you so much, Mama Fayad. Thank you, thank you, thank you to every person that's on my live stream right here on YouTube. My YouTube family here on YouTube live stream. Thank you. I appreciate everyone here on the TikTok live stream. What do you have to add here on the TikTok live stream? I see a few of y'all in here. Y'all must be hoodoo heads because you're in here. Okay. What you got give me your insight on it. Okay. So again, you know, knowing knowing what you're doing, okay? Knowing what you're doing, knowing what hoodoo is, and being able to have a discussion from different perspectives. We don't do anything vague over there. We give you a good foundation working with your ancestors. That's the foundation of that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about necromancy. We're going to be talking about mediumship. We're going to be talking about spiritualism and working with spirits because that's what we do over here. We conjure. That's what our ancestors did. Our ancestors were natural mediums, natural psychics, and necromancers, for a lack of a better term. Okay, that's they listed it like that, not me. Okay, you got somebody else taking our stuff and they trying to understand it, so they coming up with these names. And so again, for a lack of a better term, that's what we're calling it. Hi Didi, I'm here, new here, listening, sis. Hi Didi, welcome Didi. Okay, so that's what we do. We learn. We sit there and we break this down for you. It does you no good, beloved. And I know you want to do some spell work. It seems so. Everybody making it look so glorious, and you just do everything you need. No, hoodoo is not that way. You might have to do that work 3, 4 days in a row. It's a science, and I'm gonna go deeper with that when it go because we have a meeting in the ritual member and the conjure members. We have some meetings, and so I can dive. I'm gonna dive deeper when it comes to that. Okay, how are we doing that? How are we conjuring? Why are we doing the things for 3 days? I'm gonna go back for an example with the angel. I think that was Jacob that wrestled with that angel. That's how working hoodoo is. You understand me? Jacob, he held on to that angel. He said, I'm not gonna let you go till you bless me because you got to bless me. You understand me? Because see, they know what they got to do. You got some of these angels and some of your ancestral guys, they know they got to help you when you ask for help. And what did Jacob do? He held on, he held on, he held on to the angel. He didn't let that angel go until it blessed him. And that's how hoodoo work. You stay consistent, you stay persistent, you stay conjuring, you stay praying because you gonna get some results. That's the science of it. So when you're looking at that story of Jacob and he's wrestling with that angel and he ain't letting that angel go, baby. He tearing with that angel. He ain't letting it go. Like I know you're gonna bless me because I'm not gonna let you go until you do. I'm not gonna stop calling on you till you do, till I get a breakthrough. See, that's real power because again, we know the power of our voice. We know the power of calling down power and conjure. We know that. We know that our voice are reaching into the ethers. It's hitting that atmosphere. And so, and of course, if your mind is made up, because thoughts are things. That's important for you to understand too. The longer you can focus on the thought form, you're building it, it becomes alive. That's why magic takes focus, it takes awareness, it takes attention. Because what are you doing? You're building a thought form. And thoughts are things, things come alive. So the more you can focus on that thought and build on that thought, it becomes alive and work for you. Is this making sense for you? See, you don't understand the metaphysical science. You don't understand the spiritual sciences when it comes to psychology. I heard some man, and that was just crazy to me. And people was agreeing with it. And I don't know. Yeah, I was like, is it something I'm missing here, ancestors? That man sat up there and said, I think he was a Christian. He said psychology is evil. He said psychology is of the devil. I said, "What? So you don't want to understand how your mind works? You don't want to understand why you think and why you do the things you do. So anything that's going to show you how your mind works and the darker aspects of yourself, you don't want to see. See, Christian folks, that are, again, you want to me, I was looking at that saying, okay, so you want to keep blaming the devil for the bull crap that you do, it, instead of looking at these dark aspects that you have in yourself that you keep blaming it on the devil. And instead of integrating that and trying to heal that part of yourself, psychology is evil because you don't want to understand that. That was just a crazy thing to me because I'm just like, so you don't want to know your spirit, you don't want to know your mind, you don't want to know nothing. You don't want to take no accountability. You don't want to understand why you do the things that you do. So I just couldn't wrap my mind around that. But it was so many Christian people loving that video, like, yes, psychology is evil. I seen the evil in it when it was doing this and it doing that. I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe this. Am I understanding this correctly? Maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Because I always try to go in or look at some, okay, where am I? Where am I misunderstanding? Maybe I am the main factor here. Is it just me? So I just couldn't wrap my mind around that and why he was saying that. But to each his own, I thought that was a weird thing to be saying. uh but it makes sense because most Christians, they do not want, no, God cannot be your therapist. God cannot be your therapist when you don't want good orderly direction. That's God. God means good orderly direction. You don't want that in there. So how are you going to get psychologically and mentally well when you don't want no good orderly direction? You don't want that. You don't want to look at why you're doing things and why you're protecting some of these PDFs and all some of this abuse that goes on in this church, financial abuse, mental abuse. You don't want to uh uh you want to keep everybody mentally sick in there and weak minded. That's what you want. It's very dangerous when you're seeing uh especially a minister. Because again, when I look at minister and I look at ministers like that, or any type of spiritualist that's working closer with spirit, again, these people are very familiar with the metaphysical sciences. So they know the spiritual science. So again, you know the implications of what you're saying, the severity of what you're saying here. So you're purposely saying that you want people to be mentally ill and weak under you. You want that? And right now they're just out and saying it. I don't know if they understand what they're saying when they say some of the things that they're saying, but I'm telling you, some of you Christians, you know, you starting to look like the very thing that you accuse other people of. You're starting to look cultish. You're starting to look very dark over there with some of the things that is being said because some of you refuse science, spiritual science. You are the main one that's keeping up the superstitions and all that stuff that doesn't make sense. And then when a person comes there and try to explain the spiritual science to you and break it down, even your own religion, you accuse them of being evil because they don't see they have more spiritual understanding than you. You got to understand that these people kept you intentionally dumb for years. You actually believe, especially the way they gave us Christianity. You actually believe the way they explained that to you and that Jesus and all that. Do you actually believe that the person that gave you that and the way they explained it to you, do you think the way they explained it to you was going to give you power? You just think they're going to give you something and explain it to you. Hello, Celestina, Goddess New York. You actually think they're going to give you something that got power? They're going to explain it to you. No, they're not. Our ancestors took that Bible and they said, let me tell you something. We the same folks that Moses is trying to let my people go. We're them same people. Moses is a conjure man. See, they made it something. You understand me? They looked at it and gave us power in it. While these folks was giving it to us, trying to enslave us with it. You understand me? And so if you're trying to use European theological concepts, in that Bible to get power over it, it ain't gonna work for you because that's not who you are. You just cut it on out. You're trying to use European theological concepts that have been watered down for these people to justify some of their unsavory behaviors and atrocities because that's what they did. They watered that down to get them permission for that. Our ancestors went in there and got power and justice against them that was doing using it like that. And so we knew how to use it for protection, for justice, and to get them back in order. While they was using it to oppress, we was using it for freedom and liberation. There's you got two different theologies. So you can't go in there thinking that you're gonna use this European, whatever you think, and that got some power from the theological European philosophy and perspective of Christianity. You ain't got nothing, so you might as well stop it. Because you ain't following the guidance of your ancestors and how to use that Bible. And even the way your ancestors look at it, when you get to see them talking about Moses, those stories of freedom and liberation, that's how you know hoodoo was up in there. But see, y'all ain't talking that up in there. None of these preachers are talking, not because they need to be. A lot of them need to be talking about it. And see, this is how I know there's Freemasonry in the church. Because hoodoo was revolutionary. It was a place where we could plan, where we could take care of our people. But you ain't seeing that with the mega churches now. They ain't doing none of that. They ain't even talking about Moses, let my people go. What was the other? Uh, we don't even do a national anthem like we used to. Lift every voice and sing. They used to be our national anthem. You don't even see them people sing that in the black church no more. We had our own national anthem. We had our own everything separate from the United States because we didn't want to have nothing to do with that reprobate government, that reprobate religion. It's reprobate. And for lack of a better term, that's what I'm going to use right now, reprobate. It ain't of God. It's counterfeit. Okay? So again, understand what you're doing up in there and you thinking that you can work with this European theological concept of this God that ain't you. That's how not at your answer. And that's probably why you ain't getting ahead because you're trying to use their theology from their perspective and you ain't getting nowhere. But I guarantee if you look at it from perspective of your ancestors that was in the hoodoo, you'll probably get somewhere. Okay, I done seen stories where people say they got they self out of there and they start working with their ancestors. And even in we're going into ancestral veneration, you see that big in Christianity. They honor the dead. Even in Catholicism, they got a day where they honor the dead. So don't come over here talking about our ancestors is evil because your mother church, because the mother church of Christianity, Abrahamic religion, is Catholicism. Your own mother church honor the dead. They got prayers and everything, beautiful prayers and bavitas and novenas and things like that for the dead. Even got a whole big day for the Day of the Dead. This is a common among uh you know among nations. So just get out of here. Just say that you ain't studied your Bible or you ain't studied your religion long enough and been and looked at that information. Don't come over there calling people evil and all that stuff because we honor our ancestors. Okay? And then you be running to go celebrate uh 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 Jesus' birthday, the Christmas and stuff like that. Make it make sense. Okay, your stuff got to make sense. And see that science that they got you up under now, the European Christian theology is got you ignorant and dark. If you're being a slander and people tell you not to say anything, say something. I want to give some advice. Okay, so what kind of advice you wanted to give Tasha True? because the people that are telling you not saying anything just want the narrative to spread, screen record. What we what why are we screen recording? I think you're losing me here. Can people study the Bible literally or esoterically? I say you should do both. I say you should do both, Celestina Goddess New York. I say you should do both. Because and even when you jump into hoodoo, some of the terms uh we use over there have hidden meaning. Other people don't know what it means, and that's why you have a lot of people misinterpreting hoodoo or voodoo because they don't understand our esoteric um language, and so you got them taking things running with it and just creating stuff, and we don't correct it. We just tell them, hey, you wrong, don't do that, don't disrespect that. And since they don't understand it, they just keep on repeating the same narrative because they don't understand the esoteric language in hoodoo. But I say again, you need to understand it esoterically and literally, because depending on what kind of work you're doing, you might have to work with different archetypes and energies such as Moses. If you're doing liberation work, you're doing freedom work, so you probably want to work with the essence of Moses on the way we looked at Moses. Okay? Again, using that sort of spirit, or High John the Conqueror as well. That seems to be very popular, but yeah, I think it should be understood esoterically and literally as well, depending on the work that you have to do. And you should be the one interpreting those scriptures. I firmly believe when the preacher is preaching in church, instead of telling you the meaning of the scripture, that the preacher should be like, hey, sister so and so, this is what I got out of here. Sister so and so, what you get out of this when you read it, and people are able to grasp what their meaning. That's, their meaning behind it, and that's where the growth really happens. That's where the spiritual fruits really come in. Okay, because if you, again, we get cult like when you got somebody else uh telling you what a scripture means, but that scripture may mean something else to someone else. They may see something different in it, and that's one thing that I won't do. Over there we do have staples that we do read, like for Psalms 23, we read that for protection. Psalm 27, good for protection. Psalms 91, good for protection. Okay, so we have some of these staple scriptures that we read, we understand, we know universally this is for protection. This is for abundance. So we have those. But you have other scriptures too, again, that you look at that may have a different meaning for you. Okay? I should not be interpreting the scripture for you. I can tell you what it means for me and what I see in it, but when you read it, you might see something else. I talked about that when we had a tarot workshop, which I love, uh, really interacting with our community over there one on one when we're able to work as a group. So I'm able to see things from that different perspective. It teaches me to grow and look at things from another perspective as well. And see what I see there in religion, you don't have that. They're going to guide you and bind you on how to think and what to say and what to repeat. The preacher actually think, he God. I can see how Christianity too functions like a cult, because some of the things they say don't make no sense, but yet they're regurgitating like, uh, uh, this thing that why submit to your husband? Why are we doing that? Because we don't come from you. Let's just cut it out. We, I've never seen a man have a baby. I've never seen that. Just cut it on out. Let's just cut it out. And then two, when you start looking at that, another another perspective too when you start looking at the Bible. And I start looking at it like this when I start doing a lot of healing the mother wound and start connecting with the divine feminine. Because when we talk about the tree of life, we talk about Kabbalah. I go very deep in that. That's going to be a very good lecture when you see me break down that comedic tree of life so you can see the divine feminine in it. But when I start connecting with the great mother and start looking at the Bible, because again, the Bible is written by patriarchs for patriarchs. That Bible is written by men for men. Even though there's got women in there, they had no choice but to put women in there because their religion don't work without women. Because that's where they got everything from. So again, when you start looking at that Bible and then you're saying, okay, this is written by men for men. So let me read this again. When you start reading this Bible, you really see that Bible is for men and it's uh trying to help them evolve spiritually. That's why you got patriarchs coming on the scene, taking over a lot of these spiritual systems, turn them into a religion. Because man also, again, he is new. XY chromosome has not been on this earth plane that long. Okay, women had already perfected the spiritual sciences. I go through that when we talk about the ancient Kemetic science, because a lot of people want to look at. I break this down more if you get over there to Patreon. But I'm starting to see this recurring sign issue with people. A lot of people want to credit Thoth for creating magic and writing and all that. No, no. Thoth is not ancient in the Pantheon. Seshet is. He wasn't even on the scene yet. That is uh a Greek creation counterpart to Seshet. And you start seeing that recurring thing happens in Egypt when they start bringing in um some of the male deities. And you'll see it start breaking off in different theologies. They start breaking it off and writing themselves in. So again, when you start looking at that Bible, they are talking to men. And believe what they say when they're talking about men. Believe what they're saying, because again, you have this higher deity again that's coming in talking to these men. I think one scripture that stood out at me, that I knew that it was a divine feminine in that Bible. There was a divine feminine presence in that Bible. When I heard this scripture said, all men are liars. It's very specific. Then say women, and the Bible is very specific when they get to talking about women and men, because again, this Bible is written by men for men. Okay, they got a lot of these prophecies. They got a lot of this. The things that you see in the Bible, a lot of them came from a divine, feminine, um, spiritual system. They admit this. Now you can go look through their books, they fancy books and all this stuff. They admit where they got this from. They gonna call them pagans. They got us hiding up under pagan, witches, fortune tellers. They got to, again, they got to give us the derogatory terms because now they in power. They think they better than us. So now they got, again, you wouldn't have the power had you not, we had not gave you access to it. Okay, so that's important to understand it. So when you start looking at that Bible, not only do you start seeing your oppressors around you, but you also start to understand who's oppressing women and children in that Bible. Who's who? Okay. So again, taking your time with it and learning how to look at it from a different perspective. See what Christianity is doing, they only looking at it from one perspective. But that Bible consists of so many histories and so many characters, so much esoteric information, so much astrology that's in there, so much, you know, occult symbolism in there. You're not going to get a full meaning of that if you're not able to look at it from different perspective. That's just my opinion. What sacred text respects fluidity of feminine and masculine of all genders? Okay, that's a good question, Celestina. And I'm gonna start from the beginning because I like to tell people this, and not though people would think, because that's the thing. Everybody, somebody think it's a divine feminine and divine masculine, and I'm just gonna tear it down right here. And I know that's hard for some people, and it's hard for some men because we got these people coming in with new age changing things. We have the patriarchs coming in that is messing with our spiritual science. So it has been tweaked, it has been colonized not only by pale faces, but it was first colonized by men of color. So the spiritual practices that you see today that were first colonized by men of color and changing them for themselves. So again, when you look at the original spiritual science that was divine feminine, because that's all this is, everything is divine feminine. That's all this is. That's why we call her Mother Earth, call it Mother Nature. We don't call it Father Earth or Father Nature. We don't call it that. Okay, we call it Mother Nature. So when you look at these energies and you take a closer look at it and how we understand still stood dualism and polarity, and there was two types of energies in everything. There is no divine masculine. There is no such thing as that. There's no such thing as that. I know that's hard because even the man, because before he's masculine, he is feminine. That's their true natural state is feminine. Everything comes from that. There, nothing gets past that XX chromosome. You're gonna need it to live in this matrix, in her womb, in this third dimension. You again, everything is divine feminine. There is no such thing as a masculine divine energy. He has a outverted vagina. That's what he has. A large clitoris. You can call it that too. Even the act of having intercourse with him, that's divine feminine. Even the act of him wanting intercourse, again, that whole act is feminine. Okay? And they reach, and I had heard a guy talking about it. When they come in contact and have intercourse with them, uh they come in contact with the divine. That's why women, we energize them. Okay? They cannot exist without them. We are it's look at them like a cell phone that need to be charged. Are the electricity. We are the power source to them. They could not exist without the XX chromosome. Okay, I hope this is making sense to you. Because see over there, I'm going to decolonize it for you. I'm going to show you the misogyny in it. And I know that's just hard for a lot of people because they want to believe in the they want to believe in the divine masculine. There is no such thing. And ma'am, they took all our sacred books, our sacred feminine books, and another good book to read, very long read, is a book by Bailey P. Hall, The Secret Teachers of All Ages. I think it's another one that I can't remember that other occultist. He wrote it in his book too. But they sit there and tell you they stole that from women. I mean, you looking at the Pope right now, that man run around a cross dressing in divine empress priestess clothing. Okay? The Sibyls and the black prophetess inhabited the Vatican, where you see the Pope is now. There were nothing but women ruling that. Nothing but women priestess and empress in that. Okay? And that's why that man got to walk around again with that attire on, because that attire again is aligned with the divine feminine. And you have to wear that attire if you're going to be in that role. That's why they have to wear that robe. They have to wear that. That goes all the way back to the divine feminine. They could not change that. That's why you got the Masons in there. They got to put that apron on with that M on it. They still my son. But see, they done watered it down up in there, and they done made it phallic worship. Because that's what you got now. You have them again, because we understand the universe, everything was divine feminine. Then we got them coming in trying to align themselves with the sun, when the sun wasn't understood to be Ra. The sun was first Sekhmet, and now you got Sekhmet being the eye of Ra. You see how that changed? Because Sekhmet was a sun god, a sun goddess. And then you have the patriarchs coming in stealing stuff. We're gonna align ourselves with the sun, and then we're gonna tell them they the moon, and then we're gonna take these different energies. Because when you look at yin and yang, that's how they're labeling it, and somehow some of us look at it. We're looking at the divine feminine, and then they label divine masculine. No, 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 that's not it. These are two different energy sources. You have that raw, dark energy. It's not bad. It's just used for certain sorts of work. And then you have light energy. Okay? It's not inherently good. It's just you can use it for certain type of work. See, we wasn't labeling these as good or bad. Okay? We understood they had the same intensity but could be used for certain things. But when you got somebody here stealing stuff and they don't understand your science and they trying to write themselves into stuff, they start associating themselves with the sun and associating you with the moon. And it don't even make sense. You know, uh, they changed it. Even when you go back and look, and we start looking at the moon, because we talk about the mansions of the moon. That's so fascinating when you look at our almanac as well. They let you know that the astrological chart that we see today was based on the moon. Men went in and changed it and based it on the sun. So when we go to look at the mansions of the moon, and I go telling people, hey, you can do works around the mansions of the moon. These are are the energies that you can work with. It blows some people's minds, so they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that was like that. Yeah, because this is what your ancestors was doing before they kind of followed the sun. And the men came in and they wrote a whole different astrological chart. And some people still they call it sidereal. If I'm not mistaken, it's called sidereal astrology. Some people follow that chart because they say it's better. Okay, it was divine feminine at first, and then you got these men coming in changing the spirit. They even changed the spiritual science. I talk about that too when you look at Ophiuchus, because when you look at Ophiuchus as well, they took that out and they got it looking like a man. But when you look at the image of that, the image looks a lot like Mama Wati, like carrying a snake. Okay. So they changed that, they're changing things too. So I'm a firm believer that was the 13th sign represented the divine feminine, and maybe represented the element earth. I can talk about that when I go more into astrology, because when we look at astrology and we start looking at Uranus, we start looking at Pluto, we start looking at these different planets. And the thing I like to point out to people, remember, Earth is never listed as a planet, it's listed as an element. That's why, too, I think that's the secret to a lot of the magic we can do on this plane. Earth is never listed when you look at astrology and you start looking, studying um, the spiritual science. Earth is never listed as a planet. She's always listed as an element, like water, fire. Okay, Earth is always listed as element. Even the earth itself, again, is magical. But again, when we look at Ophiuchus and start looking at what kind of energy that could have been tied to, I think that is a really big missing link when it comes to understanding astrology having a 13th zodiac. Okay, but they still couldn't leave out the divine feminine because they had to put in Virgo, and Virgo is the divine feminine in the zodiac. Okay, she's going to be giving birth to these suns and these other astrological signs. Again, they could not do anything without the divine feminine. So when you see a woman being mentioned in a patriarch book or in some of their materials, do know they had to do that because their spiritual practice, their religion doesn't work without mentioning women, because women, this is where they get it all from. Are they going to admit that? Hell no. A lot of them not going to admit that. Okay, but they know it doesn't work. That's why you got that Pope. He got to go in the secret, in his secret closet, and bow down to that black Osset, Mary, whatever they wanted, Madonna. He got to bow down to that. You got some people in that Catholic Church that only pray to Mary, Mother Mary. You know why? Because they're linked to the first ancient church. They could not stop the worship of Osset, Isis. That was all over the globe. Everybody, just like you see Christianity had global influence, so did bowing down to the Great Mother. And they wanted to take her out that church, but they couldn't. They could not take her out that church. They had to set her up as the Mother of God. And you got some people that go to that church now because they couldn't take that out of everybody's mind if they pray to Mother Mary. And you got some folks mad about that. And some people really mad. They think them people should be praying to Jesus, or they should be praying to God. They shouldn't be praying to Mary, and they just don't know that these people, they know of the ancient practices. They still remember that. Okay, they didn't lose that knowledge. And see, when you start understanding the shifts that happen to us, again, you can better understand what you're reading and how to use your magic. What happened to you? Okay. And over there, I break it all the way down. I think the juiciest subject that we're getting ready to go through now, I think it's coming up next week, that we really break down the Egyptian magic, where I show you all the connections, where you kind of see hoodoo, how old it is, and how it's been among our people, how our African spiritual system has always been there, no matter where we were. And then you see too where everybody that talks about the spiritual science, who we read, they always have to go back to ancient Kemet. I look at all the religions that they have around here, and most of them are, again, have ancient Kemetic, some type of a sprinkle in their ancient Kemetic spiritual sciences. Okay. And why do we do this? Like I told our members over there, our practitioners over there, We look at that because we get a chance to trace our ancestors. We get the chance to look at the science of hoodoo and all its components and how we can use it in our daily life. And hoodoo is a way of life. This is nothing that you pick up and you grab and it's just temporary. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. This is about alignment and staying in alignment. Okay. So if you're ready to learn a hoodoo and you want to learn it in digestible sizes, you want to know what you're doing and understand it. You want to build you a practice that has a solid foundation. Join us over there at Spiritual Roots Hoodoo Community, where I break it all the way down in digestible sizes. We're even getting ready to do our first meeting here next week with the Ritual and Conjure Tier, where we talk about our goals, what we want our hoodoo to look like, and I really get a chance to listen to everyone and see where I can support everyone. See, we engage over here. I don't just leave you out there in the cold like that. That ain't helping you. Okay, we do it together. We learn together. We have conversations together. Okay, that's how we learn. That's how we grow. So we're having a meeting up there next week, and then too, I want to create a time where we can sit up and have lecture book discussions. I want to know about the book you read, what you want us to dive into, what you want to look at about the book I provided. So we're going to be doing again lecture book reviews where you can chime in. We can talk about different topics to give you more clarity on the things that you're trying to master. Again we getting technical with this. Some of y'all want some fast buy workshop type of stuff. This ain't that. If somebody trying to teach you a hoodoo in a weekend workshop, that ain't that. Cause I know it take time to reprogram your mind to a different way of life. Cause hoodoo is a way of life. Okay, I have to get up in the morning, talk to my ancestors. Again, it's a way of life for me. Go pour libations, talk to my ancestors. Cause again, this is a way of life. This ain't no fly by thing for me. This is how I live. Okay, and it's gonna take a while to reprogram your mind and start getting your mind prepared for the spiritual system. So if you're ready for that, jump over there, get in the ritual conjure tier. If you're just beginning, get in the ritual tier. If you don't want to do anything, you just want to learn, you don't want to do nothing. You just want to learn, you just want to read, get the occult study where you just get a lot of literature to read. But if you're ready to take action and you're ready to learn and have a good foundation, get over there to Patreon. We're ready to support you. We have all the resources you need, quality resources. You get access to me, you get access to workshops and all the support that I can provide for you. You'll get that over there. Beautiful community. I also do readings. So if you're interested in a tarot card reading, DM me, get in my DM. I'll get you out that. If you're interested in a spiritual blue chart reading, I love those because they put you right where you need to be on your hoodoo journey. You ain't even got to guess or none of that. Okay, because when we look at your astrological chart, we see your star, what you came here with, all the magic, all the benefits that come with you. And then we look at the shadow work you need to do to start accessing these gifts that's going to come up in that astrological chart. You get a chance to look at it and see what herbs you need to do, what kind of shadow work you need to do, what you need to do to get in alignment, what kind of spiritual baths are going to benefit you. All that comes up in that astrological chart. Because again, I'm going to give it to you from a hoodoo perspective, so you'll see the root work in it. You get straight to your root work when you got your astrological chart. Some people got their astrological chart, they don't know what they're looking at or what to do with it. Over here, I'm gonna tell you what to do with it. You're gonna do your root work, start healing, and start tapping into your magic. Okay. Over here, that's what we do for it over here. I'm gonna give it to you and say, hey, this you got gold right here. So start working your stuff. You ain't got no excuse of telling you don't know where to go or you don't know what to do. We done already looked at your star sign and what you come in here with. We done already looked at in your gifts, and I'll let you know what you got. You can't say you ain't got now. You got to work on doing that shadow work to start accessing them. Okay, so if that's something that you're interested in, uh, The link is in my bio on YouTube, and the link is in my link tree here on TikTok if that's something that you're interested in. And again, we don't do no fly-by workshops. I don't just teach you no workings like that. We teach you foundation. We teach you the science, so you'll understand it. So when you start putting your own work together and using your own magic, you know what you're doing. You ain't gotta ask nobody how to do nothing because you already know it. You got the resources there. We've talked about it, and you already know how to put your stuff together. And your stuff don't have to look like nobody else's. So don't think your stuff got to look like nobody else, and don't let people tell you you ain't doing hoodoo just because it don't look like they stuff. Hoodoo look different in different places with different people. Everybody magic is different, and that's okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Okay. Cause I'm here over there, you gonna get some support. I'm gonna cheer you on, and you gonna access that magic because I'm not gonna let you go until you keep going. This is about consistent and persistence. If you want to work with the spiritual science, you have to have consistency and persistence and put in your time. And a lot of us in hoodoo, we got more time than we got money, and that's why it works. You're gonna pay some type of currency. Whether it's time because them spirits watching you. We like I said, we ain't got no initiation over here. You know why? Because we work directly with our ancestors. We learn directly from them, and it's closed. Okay. Anybody got any questions for me before I close this out? Any questions for me? Anyone? And I know a lot of you, I have not seen practitioners come here and break it down like this. I've seen a lot of people, they say a lot of good, you could say a lot of stuff and not be saying nothing. And I'm gonna say it like that. I see a lot of people say a lot of stuff, but they ain't saying nothing. Okay, and I'm gonna come here and break it down for you to a science. I've been studying it too long. I've been studying metaphysics too long. Again, I don't just talk from knowledge, but I talk from experience too, walking the walk. Can't come here if I'm not walking the walk and doing what I say that I'm doing. I am doing it. Okay, so what we got over here with our YouTube family? Tina said, "Thank you for sharing your wisdom and knowledge with us, Miss Penny. You're so very welcome. They don't want to take responsibility for nothing that ain't going to get them into heaven." Yep, they sure right, Tina Cole. Jacob spends the night alone on a riverbank cannon. He encounters an angel and wrestles with him and done. And he's giving him the name Israel. That's right, and refused to give his own name Jacob. They want to keep a okay. So again, you think about hoodoo and the spiritual technology of it, like Mama uh, Fatty Mad Reed said. Again, I go back to it's like wrestling with that angel. Okay, you're gonna get a response if you consistent, you persistent, and your intentions are set. I promise you, you're gonna have your own happenings on your magical journey, and I can't wait to hear it. I've heard some people uh, have did some of the things that we recommend in there, and they have seen a huge difference in the way they communicate with their ancestors. The fog and lifted, they get more clarity. And so again, uh, any questions? Anybody got some questions? Because I can just keep yapping about hoodoo. Okay. I can break it all the way down to signs to you. Hello, Royal Goddess. I'm doing great. How you doing, beloved? I can break it down to a science. I don't see too many hoodoo practitioners do it like that. Nobody's talking about the saints. And I think one of my favorite things over there is the saints. I got to get over there and talk to my members, and I think they sleeping on that information. Because I know when you start out as a baby, you probably gonna need a little help from your ancestors and maybe some saints and some angels until you start doing some major shifts. That's absolutely fine. Okay, I'm gonna break it all the way down for you signs. You ain't got to wonder about nothing. You ain't got to guess about nothing. We're not gonna do that over here. Okay, you gonna definitely know some stuff. I did one thing you told me to do last night and got a response. Oh, what did you do last night, Royal Goddess? What did you do? Share, please share details with us. We want to know. And again, too, our ancestors weren't calling it hoodoo. That this hoodoo is a new term because I never heard anyone in my community call it hoodoo. They would say that stuff. They know that stuff. And we'd be like, okay, they know that stuff. It wasn't called hoodoo until much, much later. So these terms are they're very new. But we've always carried this magic with us in our DNA. We've always understood that everything was alive. And again, this is the indigenous spiritual technology that we carry in us. And this is one reason too why it's closed. It's some things that some people are not going to be able to do because they are not linked to our ancestors. Okay, you get over here and hurt yourself calling on some of these ancestors because they didn't like some of these folks didn't like, just like some of your folks didn't like brown color people. We got some ancestors over here that didn't like pale color people at all. Okay, we got them, and they had a good reason not to like you. Okay, they have a good reason, so go sit down somewhere with that. I love how honest and transparent you are. Thank you so much, Royal Goddess. Okay. So, I'm going to break it all the way down for you. You're going to get clarity. Um, and we'll talk about any subject that you're having an issue with, especially when it comes to getting your magic going and getting in alignment and things like that. I'm going to break that down for you. I've seen some hoodoo practitioners, they'll come here and they will blame the lack of results on the person. Yeah, that could be it. I'm not saying that couldn't be it, but if you're going to do that, provide them with options and solutions because hoodoo is all about solutions. If you know that's going on with the people that you're mentoring, again, recommend spiritual baths, recommend more consistency with their ancestors, recommend more shadow work because that's going to fix it. Don't just tell them a problem and not provide a solution for the problem because it is a solution. Okay. And the whole idea of them working again into hoodoo is to be able to do some things on their own. And there is a lot of power in them, doing those spiritual baths, being consistent with their ancestors and doing the shadow work. You will see enormous changes if you do that. Now, a lot of the work, a lot of people want to get in here and do a lot of stuff, a lot of work in hoodoo. It's not a lot of it, again, a magic and science, the science of magic. Let's talk about science, is being in alignment with it. If you're not in alignment with it, you might have blocks. Okay. And that's when it comes in to getting in alignment, doing the spiritual baths and communicating with your ancestors and looking at other options on how to get work done. And we provide all that over here. You're not stuck with just the Psalms and the candle. You're not just stuck there. You come there and tell me, well, Miss Penny, I did that Psalms work and I got up early in the morning and I was doing that Psalms work and I was doing, and I haven't seen any breakthrough. Okay. The first thing we say, okay, you do the spiritual bath, you did that. Okay. All right, so let's go see if let's go look at a saint that you can probably work with. What are you trying to do? Let's see if we can get a table set up for a saint and see if they would they be open to helping you. Again, hoodoo is about solutions. This is about getting the work done. This is work. Our ancestors didn't let nothing get in the way of them getting work done. It was always a way to get it done. And so that's what we do over there. We give you so many different options on how to get your work done. You're not stuck. Again, hoodoo is not Christian, it's not religion. I don't like when people try to quote you a lot of Psalms and give you a whole bunch of herbs and stuff and not giving you a scientific explanation of what is going on there. And then when it don't work, they looking at you. But no, you didn't give them good context. You wasn't providing enough context for them to have enough confidence to do the work. And then when they didn't get the results, you couldn't recommend nothing, something else they can do to help them get a breakthrough. There's always, again, other options. Spirituality is about resolving, it's a solution to everyday problems. That's how I look at hoodoo. Hoodoo is a spiritual scientific solution to everyday problems. That's why we got certain workings in here to address everyday problems. I'm still trying to see exactly what the spirit need though. I asked the spirit to come in my dream. Okay. Okay. I guarantee you when you get to doing your rituals and your things over here, your dreams gonna kick up. Your vision's gonna kick up. Because again, you're gonna be tapping into science doing it right. And you're gonna start having all these dreams about your ancestors. Angels might start coming in your dream. Again, it's going to kick up, and that should be kicking up because you're doing the rituals and you're talking to your ancestors. So now you open up that line of communication. Your dream states and stuff is going to kick up. Okay. So let me know if this is something you're interested in. I see nobody else asking any more questions on the TikTok live stream. You guys have any questions? I see some of you are in here. Portia Lake, Celestina, Goddess New York. Thank you for being here, Mama Mayat. Coochie Cat. Ooh, what a name. Um, Tasha Truth was in here. I'm just looking at this thing, you guys. Dee Dee was in here. Dimples was just in here. She's always in here. Very good supporter. Pearl Bailey was in here. Okay, so if y'all have any questions about hoodoo, or maybe you're want a hoodoo blue chart reading, DM me with your email address. I do need your date, your time, and your place of birth. Don't forget to give me that. If you want me to give you the root to what's going on with you, give me all that. I'm gonna need your time, your place, and your date of birth. Okay. So if you're gonna DM me that with your email address, and I get you out an invoice. I still got um a chart to work on in a few minutes. I get off here. I have to go back working on there. Okay, let me give you my email, honey. I'm in the chat, you guys. Okay, I put it in the chat, Royal Goddess. I put the email address in the chat. Again, you can DM me if it's something that you're interested in. But you really don't want to miss out on this hoodoo community. I just can't tell you how cool it is um, to have such transparency and to have such a breakdown of hoodoo where you can understand it and immediately start applying it. And again, we're all about alignment up here. And if nobody is explaining that to you and they got you doing a whole bunch of work and they're not explaining that the importance of ancestors being in alignment, doing the shadow work, they're not telling you those things, they're doing you a disservice. Because you have to have a good foundation if you're going to come in here. You have to understand those things. It's a must that you have a good foundation and a working relationship with your ancestors. If they are not explaining this to you and they got you going on in these classes and all this stuff and think you could just do this with a magic wand and they have not explained the science to you, you're not getting good context, beloved. You're not getting the whole entirety of it. And you're going to get it over there. Okay. So if that's something you're looking at, get over there and I'll be waiting there to support you. And like I said, we're going deeper now because I'm trying to get, yeah, get you involved while we're at the beginning. And instead, we be all the way down the road working on something. Here, you're trying to catch up kind of where we are, although the information is still there. but just giving you a heads up to get up and get involved as we move on down, because who knows, as we move on down and we gain more members might be saying, hey, we're happy where we are, we don't want to let anyone else in. That might happen. I might get a lot of members over there and say, "Hey, Miss Penny, we good. We don't want nobody else. We like the community the way it is. We want to keep it closed. We like the way we're learning. We like the way we." I don't know, because again, I have to listen to you and listen to the needs of the members that's over there, and that's another reason why we have the ritual member meeting and the conjure member meeting. Again, making sure I'm addressing you're getting all your needs met and where you need the most support. So again, that's what I'm there for. I'm not an absent person that's just going to leave you out there hanging. That's not me. Okay. All right, you guys. Let me know. Let me know. I hope I see you over there on Patreon.